Welcome to the Dean Rogers Show. Today we got another episode of Deals with Dean. And on today's episode, we've got a drama-packed episode talking about how I did my first deal with HGTV star Tarek El Moussa from Flip or Flop. You are not going to want to miss this one. Let's go. All right, so this one all started out from us getting a deal under contract in Los Angeles. That is not in our normal area, but it came from a Facebook marketing lead from iSpeed to Lead. I'll put the link in the description. If you don't know who they are, check them out. Great source of leads. All right, now this was out of our normal area, but we got escrow open. We started looking for buyers. We knew there was a deal here. And we actually found a hedge fund buyer that we had worked with before that wanted the deal. Now, we were able to work the numbers to where this was going to be a $30,000 assignment fee. After going through title and escrow, we found that there were some ownership issues that we had to get through, and that was just going to take some time. So it took about a month or so until we got that cleared. Now, our next obstacle was to actually try to get the tenant out of the property, because this hedge fund buyer does not buy with tenants in the property, so we had to work through that. Now, to make matters a little bit more interesting, the tenant was actually a family member, and they weren't paying rent, there was no lease, and so it was a little tricky to go through that whole process. So after talking with the tenant and trying to coordinate something and cash for keys or when the property was going to be vacant, it was really just a lot of back and forth and promises that were unmet. And, we were actually right about to close with that hedge fund buyer. The tenant said they were going to be out and even provided access for the hedge fund buyer to walk the property and see it the day before closing. And the day of closing came, and they said they needed more time. Well, more time led to a lot more time, and everybody was just getting fed up with the deal, and it didn't really look like it was really going very far. So some time had continued to pass, and we were starting to lose hope on the deal. Kept trying to communicate with the tenant, again, who was a family member, and she mentioned that she was exploring other offers. We made sure to let her know we had a legal binding contract and she wasn't allowed to do that. But regardless, she was exploring other offers. Now, she had mentioned she had offers that were $60,000 higher than what we were offering, $80,000, even one that was $100,000 higher. And it made us start to think that, hey, maybe there are better buyers out there, but we got this one. We already have a contract. Let's just get the deal closed. Let's find a way to get the tenant out. Well, she happened to say one thing that sparked an idea, and she mentioned that she had an offer for $60,000 more than we were offering from the Flip or Flop guys. And I thought to myself, well, I know who the Flip or Flop guys are. That's Tarek El Moussa on HGTV. I know who those guys are. In fact, I actually know someone who's on their team, Forrest Blackburn. Now, Forrest Blackburn is somebody who was hired by HGTV to come in to Tarek's company and help just scale it and grow it and be able to handle their growth and their flipping business. And I met Forrest through Robert Wensley on a webinar from Investor Lift. So there was a connection there, and I reached out on Facebook right away. And I said, hey, Forrest, I got a property that I'm working in Los Angeles, and I think you guys are in communication with them. Let's see how we can work together. So Forrest connected me with Robert, who's actually married to Tarek's mom. And of course, Robert knew the whole backstory. He knew the tenant. He knew the owner and knew the situation that was going on. Now, kudos to Tarek's team because they actually told the seller that they should not go around us. We had a legal binding contract, and if they tried to do something outside of our agreement, they'd probably get into some legal issues and it wouldn't be worth the hassle. So they really supported us and had our back and supported the seller moving forward with us, which was great, right? And that just led us to want to work with them and try to figure and problem solve together. So at that time, we realized things probably weren't going to move forward with that hedge fund buyer. So we decided to cancel escrow to release their deposit and reopen escrow right away. Now, the great thing is we had a $30,000 assignment with that hedge fund buyer. Well, the Flip or Flop guys and Tarek's team were actually willing and able to pay the seller $60,000 more than what we were. So we were able to put a $60,000 assignment deal in place. So we're thinking, sweet, we got a better deal. We got Tarek and his team working with us. This is going to be fun, and we're going to get this done. So we were working hand in hand, trying to communicate with this tenant, and Robert had really had some rapport built with her and some trust. So we were trying to negotiate cash for keys and trying to coordinate that whole move out. Well, we almost had her out and we're about ready to close, and she just kept playing games and dragging it out and ultimately stopped responding and ghosted us. So we were all really frustrated. Tarek and his team were about to pull the plug and just say, hey, we don't want any more part of this. It's taken too long. We want to basically put our funds into something else. And instead of just letting the deal die, we thought to ourselves, what can we do to make contact with this tenant? And I just remember a strategy that I had heard before on a podcast about how if a tenant or an owner is not responding to you, one way to get their attention is to send a pizza to their house. Now, if you haven't heard of that before, and you have now, I really hope you use it one day and it helps you get a deal done. If it does, make sure to comment, reach out to me on social media and let me know. It would make me so happy to hear that it helped you. But so I had a pizza sent to the house, and the tenant, the family member living there, got the pizza, and we told the pizza delivery guy, make sure you tell the tenant, or you make sure you tell the person who gets the pizza that we've been trying to make contact with them and to contact us at this number. So the pizza guy did exactly that. And what do you know? We got a call from the tenant saying, hey, what's going on? What are we doing here? And through some more conversations, we ultimately got to the bottom of the tenant, the family member living there, was actually the sister of the seller. And she was actually going to get money from the sale. And she had been left out of the whole thing. She had no awareness of what was going in. She was just completely left in the dark. And that's why she was resisting, because she didn't know what was going to take place. She didn't know what the property was selling for and just wanted more information. And of course, we were in the position of not really being sure what was going on. The relationship was strained and they weren't talking to one another. So my acquisition manager had a great idea. He said, you know what? I'm going to get on a Zoom call with her so we can see each other face to face, and I can tell her exactly who I am. I can share my screen and show the purchase contract. I'm not going to send the purchase contract. I'll share my screen, share the purchase contract, and we'll get this resolved. So the Zoom call happened, and it was the best thing we could have done. All the trust was there. She finally had relief and felt like she was in the know of what was going on, and that's what we needed. That was the missing piece this whole time, and why there was resistance and friction in this whole deal. So we got that taken care of. We communicated that back to the team with Robert for Tarek's company, and ultimately we're able to coordinate that cash for keys to where she would move out, and they would get access to the property. So we were able to coordinate that. And on the day of closing, just when we thought we had everything done, ready to close escrow that day, all the paperwork on the seller's side, all the paperwork on the buyer's side, the buyer had already walked the property that morning. We got the green light that it was vacant. I'm thinking, okay, let's close this deal. It's done. I get a call at 1 p.m. while I'm at the airport about to fly somewhere from Tarek's partner, Pete DeBest. If you've ever seen the show Flip or Flop, you've seen Pete on the show, and he's one of the money guys in the partnership. Now, he called me basically saying, hey, I need a $30,000 price reduction today or the deal's off. Not budging. And we had probably an hour-long conversation going back and forth. And ultimately, what I was able to negotiate was, okay, we'll do the $30,000 price reduction. And he said, if we make $1, right? If we make $1 or if we make $30,000 or more, we'll give you back that $30,000 price reduction we're asking for. So it was a day of closing request to have a $30,000 price reduction, take it from $60,000 down to $30,000. Now, that was not what I wanted to hear. It was totally a buzzkill, and it was at the 11th hour. So we decided to move forward with that handshake verbal agreement. Now, the tricky part on this one was, in order to make that adjustment and have all the documents signed, it was going to push our closing to another day, and I did not want to do that. So I made a verbal agreement and gave Pete the trust over the phone that let's close this deal where we're going to get the $60,000 assignment, and I'll wire you back $30,000 after we close. So gave him my man's word, gave him the verbal handshake over the phone, and made it clear, hey, we're looking to do more than one deal here. Let's get this deal done. We'll let escrow know what's up. So he wired his funds, got escrow closed, and sure thing, once the $60,000 hit the bank account, wired him back 30, and the deal was done. Now, this was quite the interesting deal. It was a great experience in learning how to navigate and work through these problems. And we established a really good relationship with Tarek and his team as it's translated into doing more deals together. So I hope this was a fun story for you guys. I hope it gives you some inspiration as you have roadblocks and challenges come into the way, that you can push through those there, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So until next time, everybody, peace.